Hola, bienvenido a otro episodio de Days COVID Kitchen on YouTube. Hoy vamos a cocinar arroz con pollo. Es muy delicioso. Esta comida es muy popular en España y América Latina. Es similar de paella, pero paella tradicional incluye mariscos. Pero este no incluye mariscos, solamente el pollo. ¿Qué? ¿Qué dices? ¿En inglés, por favor? Claro que sí. Hello! Welcome back to another episode of Days COVID Kitchen on YouTube. Today we are making arroz con pollo, chicken and rice for the gringos. It is a very popular dish in Latin America and Spain. It is very similar to paella. However, traditional paella usually includes seafood, and there's no seafood in this dish, only chicken. Some people call it the poor man's paella. Regardless, it is delicious. It is full of flavor. It is a crowd pleaser. It'll go over very well with your family. It's one of those one-pan dinners that really stretches, but it is just so flavorful. I've got to tell you, ever since I cooked it, my house has smelled amazing. I mean, just amazing. So I'm so excited to share this recipe with you. Let's get started. Just to tell you a couple of things about this dish and why it's so popular. First of all, as I mentioned before, it's a one-pan dish, so we're gonna make everything in one large pan on the stove. It is, start to finish done in less than an hour, which is great if you're busy and you need to whip up something that's delicious but fast. And the other great thing about it is there's really not a wrong way to make it because there are so many different variations on the recipe. You can decide what direction you want to go in and just play with it and make it your own. It's just a really great dish for families. What we're going to be making is a serving for 4 with the ingredients that you see in front of you here. So for our ingredients, let's start with our chicken. We are going to be using dark meat chicken. You will see this a lot in recipes that I do where you want a lot of flavor, and dark meat chicken just has more fat, more flavor and depth to it than white meat chicken does. It also stays moister. I've got 2 drums and 2 thighs here for my recipe today that we're gonna season with salt and pepper, and then we're gonna brown in our pan to start with. Our dish is arroz con pollo. So here is our arroz rice. I've got a seasoned yellow rice here, about a cup, that we're gonna use as our base for our dish. There are other variations. Of course, you could use white rice for this dish and it would be delicious, but you would wanna make sure that you have a lot of flavor. Maybe use like a chicken bouillon or something like that in your dish if you went with white rice. A key to this dish is going to be using bell pepper. You can use green, red, yellow. I don't care whose recipe you find. This needs to be a part of it somewhere, somehow. So we've got our peppers here. I decided to use some red and some green pepper for this dish. I've also got some minced garlic, chopped onion, a little bit of tomato paste, olive oil for browning my chicken and vegetables in. I have some cilantro here that's chopped up. This is going to be garnished at the end. Salt, some oregano, and then over here is chicken broth. And I'm actually going to use a little bit more than what fit in this bowl, but that's what we're going to use to finish the cooking process towards the end. Let's talk about what gives this dish its flavor. I've already kind of shown you my garlic and onion and oregano and salt and That's all good and fine, but I've got something special here that's going into this recipe. It's called sofrito, and it's like a tomato-based kind of seasoning with pepper and onion and garlic, and it's very popular for Latin American food, and we're going to use about a cup of it in this recipe today. I've also got here what's called adobo seasoning, and on top of my adobo seasoning you'll see a little bit of red and a little bit of darker brown, and that's actually chili powder and cumin, which is what you would use if you were making chili. Two key ingredients for making chili, but we're also going to use it in our recipe today. Finally, I have vegetables. As I mentioned before, it's a one-pan dish, and I'm one of those people, if I can get my vegetable serving in with everything else, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So what you typically see with arroz con pollo is peas, and there's a certain type of pea that is traditionally used, but you can also just use your standard frozen peas. I'm actually going to do mixed vegetables because I want a little bit more vegetables in my dish than what you might traditionally see. There's corn, carrots, peas, lima beans, and green beans in my mixed vegetables. It's just a typical bagged frozen vegetable medley that I'm using here. So I'm going to be adding that to my dish. Now, there are probably some purists out there who are like, oh, clutch my pearls. You know, that's not usually what you see. It's not one of the more popular combinations of vegetables, but it's what I like, and I'm going to do what I like, and I want you to do what you like too. So I've gone ahead and seasoned my chicken with salt and pepper while my oil is heating up on the stove. So the first step in making this dish is to actually take your chicken and place it in the pan. I'm going to put my thighs skin side down in the pan and let the chicken brown. And once it's browned, I'm going to remove it from the pan, set it aside, and then move on to the next step. I don't want to overcook the chicken in this step because it's going to spend quite a bit of time simmering in the same pan later with my rice and chicken broth and seasonings. Let's go over to the stovetop and see what's going on. I've got chicken browning in my pan. You can see the kind of pan I'm using here. It's big enough for me to have all of my ingredients combined in it. For cooking later, it's got a nice lid so I can cover and simmer this dish. It is going to simmer for about 30 minutes once I've added all my ingredients. When you're looking at all of these little bowls on my table, it's probably a bit intimidating to think about, oh my God, putting all that together just to make a chicken and rice dish. Well, honestly, this step helps you to get organized so that when you start cooking, you can move through your steps efficiently. You won't have anything overcooking while you're trying to chop or dice something elsewhere. And it's really not, I mean, if you look at what I've put together here, there's nothing on this table that's terribly complicated or that most of us wouldn't have in our kitchens. All right, my chicken has browned. The thighs browned actually much better than the drums do. It's just much easier to do that with thighs. My pan is still very hot. I'm going to go ahead and add to it my onion right into the olive oil and drippings that are left over from the chicken. Again, one pan dish. Green pepper, red pepper, and garlic. I'm going to let these cook down just a little bit before we move on to the next step. It really smells divine in here. I'll tell you, once you start cooking for yourself from scratch, things like processed food and takeout food they don't cut the mustard. I was a takeout queen before COVID-19, and this kind of forced me to revisit cooking again, and it's turned into a whole other thing. But the smell of this pepper and onion and garlic sauteing in this olive oil is just to die for. And it's really not that hard to make meals from scratch like this. All right, here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to add my seasonings to this. Now, as carefully as I can and still show you what I'm doing with the phone, I'm adding my oregano. This is that combination of adobo seasoning, cumin, and chili powder. Sprinkle that right in. And then next goes my sofrito. All right, now I'm going to mix these ingredients up. And boy, did that kick the aromas up another notch. So my sofrito is cooking in here with my garlic, onion, red and green pepper. I am gonna add in now some tomato sauce. You know, the sofrito actually has a tomato base to it. So some people might opt to skip this step if you are using sofrito with a tomato base. Mine was like a frozen sofrito, so it has the tomato in it, but I'm adding some tomatoes to this anyway. It is a standard for the recipe to use tomato sauce or paste to give it a little bit of depth and richness. All right, so I've mixed up my tomato paste with my pepper, onion, garlic, sofrito seasoning, adobo seasoning, and I'm gonna add in my rice. Again, I'm using a yellow rice with seasoning in it. And then I'm gonna pour in my broth and add back my chicken and let this simmer. I am gonna add some vegetables, but I'm gonna wait until I'm about 10 minutes done from being done before I add those vegetables in. All right, let me give you a peek at what's happening here in my saucepan. I've added about 3.5 cups of broth, chicken broth, to my mixture. And you can just see how much seasoning and flavor this dish contains. What I like about doing international cuisine is you get, you know, recipes that are not much more complicated than what we're kind of raised on as basic American kind of food, chicken and rice, but with just so much more flavor to it. It makes it a lot more interesting and exciting as something to serve yourself or your family. It's more impressive too. I've added my chicken back into the pan. The rice is at the bottom of all this liquid. It is going to absorb all that delicious flavor and soften and season, and the chicken is going to finish cooking along with the rice here. I'm going to cover the pan and let it simmer on like a medium temperature for about 20 minutes. Come back and add my frozen mixed vegetables to it. Give it another 10 or 15 minutes. I want to see a nice finished, soft, fluffy rice at the end of this, and of course you need your chicken also fully cooked by the time this is done, which really shouldn't be a problem. The real thing is at the end of this, you really shouldn't see any of this liquid at the top. It should be absorbed by your rice. It's late here in the kitchen. 11:30 at night as this dish is finishing up, but that's okay because it's done. You can see that my rice is cooked down and absorbed all that broth that was in there, all those delicious seasonings and flavors. Chicken is cooked. I had a quick chef's taste of it and the flavor is amazing. I'm really happy about how this dish has turned out. And again, once you put it all together, you're just kind of letting it cook for, 30, 45 minutes tops. I'm actually going to take it off the heat and let it rest for another 15 minutes or so. But yeah, just a really delicious, flavorful one-pan dish. Lots of great color and aromas coming off of it. It's definitely going to be a winner for you and your family and friends if you decide to give it a try.